Hello, everybody. I hope you're well. I am so excited about the new and improved version of this sales and leads tracker. I did not realize I would be such an Excel and Google Sheet nerd, but well, here we are. So this is the sheet, and we've been using this quarterly planning, measurement system and tool for, maybe like 2 years now. In case you're completely new to it, I'm going to go over each tab in the sheet. I'll explain how it works. I'll also share a link to the video recording from our last quarterly planning session, because when it comes to your daily activities, that all stems from the goals you have weekly, which comes from the goals you have monthly, which comes from the goals you have quarterly, and then annually, and so on. And all of that stuff is related. So let's start with this one. This tab is your content posting plan and tracker. This is where you pick, okay, these are the channels, these are the marketing platforms, the apps and the tools that I'm going to be prioritizing for this quarter and for these months. So I might go through here and think, okay, my Facebook personal profile is great for me. I am focusing on this. The status is I'm going to post on this daily. And I'll just say here that even though that's not really what this is about, be kind to yourself and be both practical and then also aspirational, right? Like we want to stretch ourselves a little bit, but also if we know that realistically with our full-time jobs, with our other responsibilities, like we're not going to be able to post on every single platform every single day, don't do it to yourself, right? You might say, okay, I'm new at this. I am going to try sharing every Monday. I'm going to post on my personal profile. Okay, great. And then you're going to make some notes and say, I am going to shoot for 5 weeks in a row. If I can do that, maybe I'll go for multiple times a week. Now, I will say just from a Facebook standpoint, ideally you'll do more than once a week, but this is just for you to be thinking about what is your rhythm, what is your cadence, and then you're going to make those decisions. So this drop down shows how often. This one shows the priority. There are some platforms or some features of platforms that you might never use. Let me give you an example. You might be working on building up your Instagram account and you're looking at this and you're like, what are close friend stories? I don't even know what that is. So I'm just going to say later. It is not a priority right now. I don't even know what that is. I'm going to intentionally and strategically ignore that so I can move on. Okay. Facebook, Instagram profile, that is important. So I'm going to do that, but it's not my main focus. So if I can get to it, I will. And actually, I'm going to change this to Instagram Reels, Instagram carousel posts, Instagram single image feed posts. Okay, so you see how each of those is technically its own kind of post, its own feature. So that is what that's about. You might not use every single platform. And even on the platforms you use, you might not use every single feature. Like maybe you're using Instagram Reels, but you're not really active on your daily stories yet. Or maybe you're using your Instagram stories on a semi-regular basis, not daily, but you haven't used this yet. So be honest with yourself and think strategically about what you're going to use. Remember that every single platform and every single feature within that platform has a specific purpose of who you're reaching out to and when. So let me just give you a quick example with Instagram again. Instagram Reels are great for putting you in front of brand new people who have never heard of you before. That's great for growing your audience, right? And attracting new leads to your business. Carousel posts, as of when I'm recording this, they also do that, but they also often get seen by people who are following you. Single image, photo, and feed posts are often seen by the people who have either decided to follow you or they've seen your post before. Instagram stories are usually only seen by the people who are already following you. So those are people who have maybe worked with you before, or they're at least interested in you professionally or personally. Close friends are usually people who are really hot leads, like maybe they have booked with you before, they're repeat clients, or they're just close friends of yours, right? So you can see how every single feature that Instagram has is for a different person and a different purpose. So it's good for you to know those things, but of course we can't dive into every single platform in this video, but that is what I want you to be thinking about is which platforms, how often, which is a priority. Not everything can be the priority, right? So that is why you want to refer back to your business plan. And I'll have to cover that in another video, but I will be sure to link the video here in the description if you want to go learn more about that, I have the business plan available for sale. If you're not on my team, in my Etsy shop, if you are one of the agents that I personally mentor, then you'll have access to it. You can just shoot me a message and I'll make sure you do if you haven't seen it already. So you make your plan here. You put notes here because maybe like for Instagram Reels, you would love to post daily, but you're not doing that yet. So you make a note saying, okay, I know I can't for Q4. This is Q4. So October, November, and December. Maybe I can't do it then. Holidays are busy, but maybe for Q1. And then you have the daily tracker here. So this is where you plan, and this is where you see what you actually did, right? And part of this is also building in a practice of self-awareness, making sure that you're going into this document on a daily and then weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis to track how are you doing and what are you doing? Because many times I talk with travel agents and they will say something like, I'm not getting any traction, X isn't working, or this isn't working. I'm doing all these things. I'm super busy. And then I ask them, well, okay, well, what are you doing? What are you focusing on? And they can't tell me because they don't have a way to track. So that's what this really is for. All right, so this is for your marketing content. Let's move on to weekly leads. I will be very short on this one point that followers and people you engage with online are not your leads. You have strangers who have never heard of you before. You have followers and subscribers who they might have watched your content or they might even be following you on one of these platforms, but they have not expressed interest in booking with you. In fact, they might not even know that you're a travel agent. They're not even a prospect. Now, a prospect is someone who you might have identified could be a lead. They haven't said that they're interested yet, but you see that they travel. You maybe even see that someone in a Facebook group says, hey, I'm looking for a travel agent. That is a prospect, right? They're not your lead yet because you haven't introduced yourself. But once you introduce yourself and they say, hey, I might be interested, then they become a lead. And lead tracking is what we're doing on this tab. We're trying to see who is actively interested in our products and services, although mainly services because we're trying to sell ourselves as travel agents. So these are all the different ways to get leads, and you might notice that some of these might come from social media, but often they come from people we already know. They come from people who recommend us, from referrals, maybe people that we've worked with before in the past, or they know someone we've worked with in the past. They will basically sing your praises, right? So these are the main ways, and I really love email marketing, so you'll hear me talk a lot about that, participating in summits and bundles and other collaborative events to grow your email list and your leads list, getting you on podcasts, positioning yourself as a true travel expert and authority in your niche, guest blogging on other people's websites, either collaborating on other people's YouTube channels. Even if you don't have these things yourself, if you don't have a podcast or a YouTube channel or a big TikTok account, that's okay. You can be strategic and find somebody else who does. And I will definitely have videos coming out on my YouTube channel where I talk about ways to collaborate with influencers and content creators, even if they have absolutely no interest in becoming travel agents themselves. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel because you'll want to make sure you don't miss that, and hit the little bell so you don't miss notifications of when a new video is posted. And if you've gotten any value so far, go ahead and like this video. If you haven't grabbed this resource yet, I'll be sure to put it in the video description. If you have any questions, though, you're welcome to drop them in the comments, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram over at Travel Agent Haven. I'll be sure to pop that QR code up on the screen for a couple of seconds so you can grab that handle if you need it. All right, so those are leads, and we don't just want to plan, right? Because we have the same columns here as we do for content. We want to track, but this is actually on a weekly basis. Now, I did put the dates here daily, but you can choose how often you check in. I usually tell travel agents I mentor to check in with leads on a weekly basis, just because it is already a lot of work to manage becoming a travel agent and then also to stay consistent with a content schedule. So usually I say check your leads weekly, but if you are advanced or you have more experience or you're already doing some lead generation, then I would say maybe check like every couple of days. All right, this is when it gets really exciting. So we move someone from being a stranger to a follower or a subscriber. They become a prospect. We have talked to them. They've expressed interest, so they're a lead. And then when we close that sale and they become a client, they either pay us for maybe itinerary planning services or research fees, or they decide to book their travel with us. Now they are a paying client and now they are a priority, right? So this is where we go to track our sales. And sales are really important because we don't have a business without them, right? Every quarter has 3 months, In Q4, for example, you have October, November, and December. So on this document, you have a separate sales tracker. So that's on a monthly basis per tab. So this one's for October, this one's for November, this one's for December. And I just want to show you something really cool. You can use this document either by yourself for your own personal tracking, planning, goal setting, and KPI measuring, if you want to say it like that, but you can also use it as a team. So you have these separate monthly documents, and we'll dive into those in a second, but I also just want to skip ahead to quarterly sales for a second. I have two examples here. Both of these travel agents had a goal of making $50,000 in sales for the quarter. One of them is projecting to make $35,000 based on their activity. Another one is $12,000. These are their actuals. It's what they actually made for the months of October, November, December. Of course, these are completely made up. So these are their total sales for Q4. We're pretending that these months have already passed, right? I wanted to show you that this last column is going to show the difference between their goal and their actual. So this is their goal here. Jane Cho's goal was $50,000. Her actuals were $80,000. That means she made $30,000 more than she had anticipated, which is great, right? But you might be wondering, why is it negative $30,000? It's just the way the formula is. So that's why I've made this green if you made more than you were planning to make. And in this example, Amy Gent, she also had a goal of $50,000 for the quarter. She didn't quite get there. She made $10,000 in sales. So she was $40,000 under her goal. So this is just a difference, right? The subtraction, that's why it's a negative here. But this is set up on every one of these cells. So once you figure out what your goal is, and then at the end of the quarter, you come over here and figure out what were your total sales for the quarter, this is going to turn red or green based on what the actual difference was between your sales goal for the quarter and your total actual sales for the quarter. So I wanted to highlight that. And then this row is very important. Do not delete this one, okay? So you might notice I have some numbers in this one already. That is because there is an example link to this. Now, if you delete these two, that's totally fine because these are examples. But the idea here is if you do happen to manage a team, or you have subcontractor agents, or maybe you work with an MLM travel agency and so you have downline travel agents, you can put all of their information here. You can even make this an editable document, have them put their names here, and they can see in real time what everyone else is making. And you have to have a tight-knit team for that to work, and you have to, of course, lay those expectations, but it can be really motivating, especially if you spur on some healthy competition. If you would rather everybody have their own solo document, that's totally fine. You can just delete these two rows and keep in this one so they can pull their monthly information into these cells. Let me show you where this is coming from. So for October, for example, this is saying 6,500. Let's jump to October. So Jane Cho, we have her example here again. Here are her booking and reference numbers. We're saying she sold a Disney vacation for a total of 6,500. Now, one point of confusion for travel agents is how much money are they actually making compared to the total sale, considering their commission percentage with the preferred partner or the supplier. And then also what many agents miss is that there's also an agency split. So in the total sale, 18% of that is commissionable. So that means 18% of 6,500 is 1,170. But that is not the take-home pay as a travel agent. Most host agencies have an initial percentage of 70% or 80%. It might be an 80-20 split where you keep 80% and the agency keeps 20%, or you might have a 70-30 split where you keep 70% and the agency keeps 30%. So with 70% in mind, this math figured out that, okay, if the commissionable amount was 1,170 from that sale, and I as the agent get to keep 70% of that, my agent take-home pay from that transaction is $819. I wanted to show you that because, one, it can be really confusing and discouraging when you see a total and you think you're getting that, and then you look at the actual amount and you're like, oh man, but I mean, $819 is amazing, especially if you only worked for a couple of hours for that, right? This is going to help you out and save you a lot of time. These formulas are already in here, so please don't delete these, at least not this first one, and they should already be plugged into here as well, working for you. So that's why I have this 0 here. It's doing the math based on whatever goes into these two, same for here into here. Now, once you have your total sales, there's also another formula adding up everything in this column. And this is the number that got plugged into that quarterly tracker. So once you know what your total sales are for the end of the month, it's going to show up here. And the reason that we're tracking sales and not commissions is because commissions can vary so much, right? Depending on the specific supplier. I think it's way easier to set a sales goal and then work backwards and think, okay, based on the actual amount of take-home pay I want to have, and based on the commission split I have with my host agency, and based on the commission percentage of the specific suppliers and vendors and partners I choose to work with, I need to make X amount of sales in order to make X amount of take-home pay. Let me show you another document I have that helps you with this. So this last tab is your financial goals and sales planning calculator. And this is where it gets really exciting. If you've never sat down and thought, how much money do I actually want to make per year as a travel agent? Start here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and move this up to the front tab because I think it is that important. Because if you don't know how much money you want to make per year, it's going to be really hard to set your goals quarterly, so every 3 months, and then monthly, weekly, etc. And the whole point of this document is not just to give you one more place to check, right? It's for you to not only make a plan, but think about what are the actual activities and actions you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis in order to make the money that you need to make. So you have your income goal here, and you'll notice that I have varying amounts. There's no shame in how much you want to put in there. No one else is seeing it, right? If you're keeping this to yourself. But you'll also notice in the next column, the amount goes up a little bit. This is because as someone who's self-employed, you are likely going to pay, and unfortunately, up to 30% employment tax if you're here in the United States. Of course, I'm not a tax professional, not an accountant, not a lawyer, so consult the professionals anytime you need to. But I went ahead and added 30% more with formulas on whatever your income goal is, okay? So if you actually want to take home $50,000, then really you need to have in your head at least $65,000, okay? And then this is a bit of an object lesson and demonstration, but I want to show you how important it is to know the commission percentages of the certain partners and suppliers and companies you work with. Say your commission percentage is 10%. And your agency split is 70-30%. Hopefully you're still with me. If you want your take-home pay to be $50,000 a year with these commission and agency split percentages, you need to sell $455,000 in travel every single year. That means you need to sell $113,750 every quarter and $37,917 every month. Now, I want to show you how much this changes based on the different percentage amount. So I'm going to move all of these to 50 really quickly, just so you can see the different variances of this. Say the commission percentage of the partner you choose is actually 15%. Even if the agency commission split stays the same, check that out. Way fewer sales that you have to make, right? Way less pressure to make the same amount of money. Your quarterly sales, instead of $113,000, is down to $75,000, and your monthly sales goal goes down to $25,000. The higher your commission percentage is with the specific partner, supplier, vendor, company you work with, and the higher your commission split is with your host agency, the more money you will make from the same amount of work. I really, really hope you get that. Check this one out. With my host agency, after you've earned $5,000 in a 12-month rolling period, your commission split percentage goes up to 80-20. That means you get to keep 80% of your commissions instead of 70%. And that extra 10% matters so much once you start getting into the thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let me show you this. If your take-home income goal is $50,000 and your commission percentage from a certain partner is 20, and your commission split is 80-20, you only have to sell $260,000 in sales versus $455,000. That is half the amount of work or sales that you need to have in order to have the same take-home pay. This is why it is so incredibly important for you to know which suppliers and partners you want to work with, and I would recommend have ongoing, persistent, positive relationships with the BDMs, the business development managers for those companies, because once you get in with one of them, there's no need to have to go and do like 50 other trainings, right? Because you already know where the good commission percentages are, what their standard of service is for the client, and what your commission split is going to be with your host agency. And that is a much more reasonable sales goal. Not to say this can't be done because it's done all the time, but you see how if you're going to get the same amount of money, then you can do way less work by thinking ahead a little bit when it comes to your numbers. So once you know your income goal and you have all this worked out, then you can start to really think, okay, if my quarterly sales goal is 52,000, let me go back to my quarterly sales. I'm actually going to move this up here. I'm going to put that as my goal. Okay. You see what I mean? And then it tells you what you need to do compared to what you've already done. So I want you to start with your goal setting. Really have a think, sit down, look at all your bills, think about where you want to be financially, and work backwards to make your plan. It is going to make such a marked difference when you really start from that place and when you sit down every single quarter to plan this out and then also to assess how the last quarter went. So that's why I said go and watch our quarterly planning if you haven't seen how that works yet. It's going to be a game changer for you. I know that game changer is like a silly thing ChatGPT says now, but I say it all the time. So you'll hear it here. And if this was helpful, again, I hope you liked this. I hope that even if you don't end up buying this resource, that you see how important it is to begin with the end in mind, to really know how much it is you want to make at the end of every month and year, and to ensure that you're really looking at this and thinking about it so you can check in with yourself, see how you're doing, and if your daily activities match the goals you have. Thanks again for watching. My name is Brittany. I'm the founder of Travel Agent Haven. I've been a travel agent myself since 2020. I've since helped over 100 people become part-time travel agents, profitable ones at that. As a team, we've sold over $6 million in travel. That is not including MLM or affiliate commissions or anything like that, just travel sales. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already and you'd like to learn more, go ahead and hit subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a great day.